this about the budget?
Okay, I've heard a lot of talk about the budget, and I will tell you that a lot of the conversation we've been hearing is about a zero-based budget, and I've researched it thoroughly. It's something we have looked at prior. I talked to Senator Flores, asked him what his view was of using that type of a budget system in government services, and he said it doesn't work. It's great for startup businesses. It's great even for a municipality that can go in and cut your services if they need to cut them. That does work. And there are methods that you can use, different proponents of it that you can use. But you would have to use a modified version of that because we have constitutional abilities. We've got 24 elected officials, and they all have a constitutional role that they have to play. And they have to be funded. If we zero out their budget, we're on shaky ground, and we could end up in court. So we cannot do that. Doesn't work. You've got unfunded mandates from the state constantly. Those are not budgeted in a zero-based budget. You just got through talking about trying to hire a fire marshal. Is that budgeted? So you have to be very careful when you start talking about zero-based budgets. There is a modified version. We already currently do something similar to that. Is it perfect? Probably not. I'm sure it's not. But we also have department heads that have to come to us every budget cycle and justify their budget expenses. And we have to have all of their information fully funded prior. Their basic budget needs have to be met. They've already been voted on, approved. They have to be met. So they do bring those requests to us. We go through them. We make them justify those currently. Still doesn't make it a perfect system, but it's a system that does work currently, and it does not get us into any type of constitutional violations.
Okay, Jack, you give us your opinion on the budget and how to go about it. And is it good shape, bad shape? What's the story?
Well, we all know one thing, a balanced budget is what we need. Kerr County has about 344 positions in it and is a budget of around $63 million. This isn't big, this is the size of a mid-sized company. When it comes to budgeting, what do we want? We want to know what our expenses are going to be. We want to know what type of money we're going to get. That's tax receipts. We also, after that, we have another step. We look at it and we audit our finance and say, how much money did we actually spend and how much money did we actually collect? Well, the problem with our county right now is that we collect a lot more money than we actually spend. In the last 8 years, we've had almost $74 million surplus. Let that sink in. This is because we over budget. We need a different way to do it. We don't need to do incremental budgeting. That's what we do now. That's where we take budget from last year and we say, what do we want to do this year? We may ask some questions, but we don't strip it down and look at the parts. I agree that zero-based budgeting is not necessarily the best way to do it. Jimmy Carter tried it. It was an absolute mess when he tried it with the U.S. government. What zero-based budgeting is, though, is it's saying, start from scratch, put it all together, justify every single thing in your budget. No, we can't do it countywide. I don't think that's the way to do it, but I do think we can kind of rotate that through. My favorite way to do it, though, is actually target-based budgeting. Target-based budgeting says you take column A and you give them 90% of what they had last year, and you give them column B and say put everything else you want in column B. That way we can kind of look at priority spending. We can compare those column Bs against all our different departments. There's a lot of departments in the county. I think it's actually 84 line item departments in this county. Some of them are put together under a lot of different people, but this is how you do it. You need to be able to understand what's in the budget. We have almost a year to do it, and this is something we can do if we turn our efforts to doing this.
All right, let's go to the fire marshal and best question. Let's just put those in. Jack, why don't you start this time? Just kind of run those together because they seem to be running together. So yeah. You can separate them if you want to.
We absolutely need to stand up to best plants. If one of these battery energy storage system plants catches fire, the fire can burn down half the county. We need to fight back about this. I've been looking into this project since about October of last year, and there's a lot of different ways we can do that. A fire marshal is one of the tools that we can do it, because we can't enforce our fire code unless we have a fire marshal. We can use the state fire marshal, but the state fire marshal is not going to necessarily come down for everything else. What we need to do is we need to have a permitting fee, and we need to have a schedule. We need that. That's the horse that goes before the cart. We have a 391 commission that's working with multiple different jurisdictions, and they're trying to find solutions to help us fight these best plans. I would love to see the 391 system say, here's a good permitting and schedule fee for the entire member counties, and put that back. Then we look at whether we need a fire marshal for that. You know, ideally, I would like to see an interlocal agreement with fire marshals where you have the 391 commission contracting a fire marshal that's going to go around in different counties. Would the fire marshal be able to do other things? Sure, maybe, but we're not necessarily going to have permitting and scheduling fees for him to do other things. And he's going to be specifically trained in BESS. But the number one way you defeat BESS plants is you show them they can't be here. You take your 391 commission and you grow it. We've got 3 member counties in there now. Bandera would like to join. That's 4. Put Kimball in there. That's 5. I want to have 10, 20, 50 counties in it. And then people aren't going to have any room for BESS in here because they're going to know BESS isn't welcome in the Hill Country.
Okay, Tom, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. It is a complicated issue, and we're probably going to end up with a contract fire marshal, right? There are some floating elements out there that we've been looking at. I've never been opposed to a fire marshal, other than it's the last resort, because we're also trying to work on a budget. We do not have it set up in the current budget, and so it's an added expenditure that we just flat don't have the money set aside for. It's not whether it's good or bad to have a fire marshal. Are there other avenues that we can explore where we don't have to? And those are the things that we've been going through with our county attorney. We have a speaker coming in Monday prior to Commissioner Pace's when he acknowledged that it will be on there, before we bring up the fire marshal vote again. That expert will be coming in. They will be talking to us about whether we can set the parameters that we would like to. When I met with the state fire marshal's office, they told us yes, we could, but then we turn around and get mixed reviews that we can't. And so the reason I voted against it this last time is because I want to know what our scope of work is. I need to know that responsibly to be able to vote on it. And so, yes, I voted no, but it was until we get that scope of work outlined properly. We have to have that. We can't just say, yeah, let's go do it, and then find out we're acting outside of an area that we actually have the authority to act in, or that we do bring in a fire marshal and cut them loose on the county, which would be very undesirable for the people that live in the county. The BESSes are an absolute no. We have to stop it, whatever cost it takes to stop them. There's no question about that. This court has been very unified, 100% opposed to BESSes. We do depend on that 391 commission and the work that Commissioner Paces and Commissioner Holt have put into it. They put many hours into it. And it is intended to grow. That's part of the beginning of the phase of it. So it is going to grow. We will stop the BESSes from coming here. The last thing that they did in Kendall County was because it was on the road. My time.
Okay, thank you on that. The last panel, the county commissioners, we talked about certificates of obligation and public facility corporations, and I want to take that to another level. The public facility corporations are a favorite among many to create affordable housing. What do you think the role of the county is in affordable housing, and would that be a proper use of a public facility corporation? And we'll start with you this time, Tom.
Well, the county court does not have zoning or ordinance authority, and so that's not the business we would be getting in.
Okay.
Pretty simple answer, right? And so I would be opposed to any actions towards that. That is not, that's not the responsibility of Commissioner's Court. We don't have the authority to go towards that direction.
Okay, that's good to know. Jack?
Well, I agree with the result. That's actually not the correct answer. A public facility corporation, no. Let me define it, Tom. Thank you. Public facility corporation is a public-private partnership. It's a corporation that comes to the county, and the county says, you know what? We're going to give you tax-free status. You know, you are not going to be paying taxes. Yes, the county absolutely has the obligation. It has the ability to give people reduction in taxes. That's a tax abatement. So you get a public-private, and they are typically used for low-income housing and things like that. I don't think this county has a big need for low-income housing. If that's the only way we could attract it, then I think we would need to take a look at something like that. I don't think we need to do that, though. That's what that tool is, though. When it comes to certificates of obligation, I don't think we should use those except in case of emergency. Any type of tax increases should be going to the people. In fact, that's one of the Republican Party planks, is that all tax increases be put to the people every year. If we want more of your money, we should be asking for it.
Hear, hear.
There you go. Thank you. We appreciate that. STRs, short-term rentals. And I don't know where this came from, but I wrote it late last night. STRs are like STDs. They spread like wildfire. How much regulation do you think is appropriate to put on the short-term rentals, if any? And I'm going to leave that open. Short-term rentals, and we'll start right here with Jack.
So short-term rentals are Airbnbs. A lot of people like these because it's a quick way to make a buck. Rent out a room or rent out a house. The problem with short-term rentals is they start soaking up all of the capacity in the market, and then we see our property values going up. If people are making a lot of money on short-term rentals and taking too many houses, then it puts a burden on everybody here. Yes, it does drive your values up, which is nice when you sell your house, but it also means your taxes go up, and it means that it's harder for your kids and your grandkids to be living here and buying a house. As far as regulations on, the county doesn't actually have a lot of tools that they can regulate short-term rentals. The city, with their zoning ordinances, absolutely can. The one tool that the county can do, which I actually oppose, is you can do a hot tax. You can do a tax on these type of rentals, which would maybe put them out there. And it might make it a little more expensive where people say we don't want to do it. The problem with doing any type of hot taxes, though, is that once you get your camel's nose under the tent, the taxes always go up. You know, we may say we're the smartest, best people here, and we're never going to do that, but the next guy that comes in, they can throw that out of the window. So short-term rentals are an issue, but there's not a lot we can do about it.
Okay, Tom, I want to add to that. As I was coming in this evening, I met a lady out in the parking lot, and the first thing she wanted to know was hot taxes. And she said, "Do you have a question on hot taxes?" And I kind of went, "No." So we've brought up hot taxes, STRs and hot taxes. Will you speak to both of them?
Yeah, the STR is absolutely, and he is correct. We don't have that authority. Again, you're looking at zoning and ordinance authorities, and that belongs to the municipalities. It does not belong to the county. We're strictly an extension of the state. So we have no authority in those regards, and it's by design, right? Hot tax, I'm not opposed to. A hot tax is getting other people to pay for your facilities. The hot tax is not something that continues to go up. By design, it's designated, it was limited, period. And it fits into a specific bracket we can't exceed but a certain amount, and they have to be designated as what they're used for. The last time we tried to bring a hot tax up, and on top of this, it would be a referendum vote to begin with, right? So the court doesn't get to make a decision on this. It'll be you that makes the decision on it. If you want it, you vote for it. If you don't, you don't. It's that simple. But if you want to see things like our Hill Country Youth Exhibition Center, if you want to see it progress and grow into what we could make that into, because that is our convention center for Kerr County. And we were not going to be able to budget what we need to budget to further enhance that facility to bring in more money. You have not gone and stayed at a hotel anywhere probably outside of Kerr County without paying a hot tax. One of the few counties that does not have a hot tax. Go somewhere else, look at your bill, you'll see it. But that money is designated for a specific fund, period. And it allows, how many thousands of people they say come in for these camps right now? Right? It allows them to pay to build that facility for you. And it does not increase your personal taxes. And it is a very useful tax. And it's used in almost every county in the state of Texas.
I went to the Indy 500 race a few years ago, and they have their hot tax and their local taxes and all of that. But during the week of the Indy 500, they had 17% tax for that week. So that was a hot tax that lasts only 1 week every year. Let's see, why don't we talk about never mind, forget that one. We've touched affordable housing, we've talked about forms of energy. Let's wrap this up with, what is your opinion of the Texas Association of Counties and other similar organizations and their role as lobbyists in Austin. Are you a member, and will you consider meeting with those lobbyists? And we'll go to you, Tom. We'll start with you.
Well, to begin with, Kerr County is a member of TAC, Texas Association of Counties, and they have been one of the greatest organizations we could ever be a member of. They have done, their attorneys were here immediately, July 4th, meeting with us, trying to see what we need to do, to help litigate any future issues. Remember, you do not need to be an attorney, and it doesn't really serve a purpose, because we elect Heather Stebbins as Kerr County attorney, and we have TAC attorneys. And Kerr County judge does not do any litigation, period. Not even in the judicial side. If it's a contested case, it goes to the court of law. It does not get handled by the judge. So TAC has come in, filled that void. They have an army of attorneys. They're willing to step up, help us. They're the ones that are preparing us currently today for any future litigation we have, because folks, we are going to have litigation come out of this 4th of July. And so we depend on them greatly. They come down, they meet with our attorneys, they meet with any department heads we need to meet with, they gather all the facts, they do a wonderful job. This is their special area of study, is working with these counties. And so I hold them in a very high opinion.
Okay, Jack?
The Texas Associations of Counties is a great organization. They have a lot of great resources. They have very well researched issues. They explain the law, and they do provide law services out there. But that is absolutely not a substitute for having good experience here in the county. A lot of people say you don't need to be an attorney. Well, if you're in Loving, Texas, you don't need to be an attorney, because Loving, Texas, in the Panhandle, only has 48 people. Their judicial services are contracted out and handled by somebody else. Our county court, the county judge, actually does have judicial duties. He sits on the juvenile court. We heard about that from the JPs. He sits on the probate court. That's your estates and that's your wills. And he sits on the mental health court. And what that is, that's taking away freedoms from people. That's putting somebody in a hospital, and they don't get to come out until you say no. So no, we do need legal experience on that court. If you're going to sit on those dockets, I want to have somebody who is trained in the law. When it comes to the Commissioner's Court, yes, we do have Heather Stebbins, and that's one attorney's opinion. I think it's always better to have two attorneys' opinions. I think it's really important, to understand these ideas, and we have our ideas. We talk to the Texas Association of Counties, and we talk to Heather Stebbins. That's what we need to do. If you don't have the legal background, then you're just going to be taking marching orders from somebody else. So.
Thank you very much, Jack. We're going to wrap this up, and again, I apologize for lack of proper planning on my part, and I appreciate everybody's patience for those of you who are still left. So I'm going to give you guys each a minute to wrap it up, and then we'll see what Helen wants to do next. So let's start. Jack, go ahead and start.
First of all, I want to thank you all for attending this event. It's been a long night, but we've had a lot of fun. I'm honored and humbled to be here. Again, my name is James Stewart. I also go by Jack, and I am the Republican attorney who's running for Kerr County Judge. I believe it's important that the county judge should know the law. The law protects everyone. It's critical that individuals who sit in judgment or in governance understand the extent, limitations, and gravity of their authorities. County judge presides, as I said, over the juvenile, probate, and criminal health. These are serious dockets. These are functions that you can't replace law school and a decade of legal experience, hundreds of hours of continuing legal education, and membership in the Texas Bar Association with a 2-week training course. County judge sits on the Commissioner's Court. I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe in lowering taxes, but the only way to lower taxes is lower the budget. In 2025, our county judge proposed raising taxes after the flood disaster. People lost everything, and our Commissioner's Court worried about losing revenue. This is not what we need. We need a better way forward. I want to restore Kerr County, and that begins with respect and listening to the people.
Thank you, Jack. All right, go for it. Go ahead, Tom.
I've lived in Kerr County since 1992, and I have been serving you in some capacity for the last 24 years. I've served 15 years as a chaplain, director of chaplaincy for the Sheriff's Department. I've served 8 years on Headwaters Groundwaters Conservation District, and I have now served for a little over a year as a county commissioner. Service is what I do, and it's what I will continue to do. I will continue to run the ministry that I run, Christian Men's Life Skills. No intent for me to ever leave there. God called me to it. I have no reason to ever think about going a different direction. I love what I do here. I love serving you. Even as a commissioner currently, I serve you. I voluntarily serve on the riparian recovery group. I voluntarily serve on the flood warning system groups. I'm helping to rebuild Kerr County today. I give my time to you on a regular basis. I will continue to do so, whether I'm elected judge or not, because I'm just going to tell you this place is my home. And it's my grandkids' home. And it's where I intend to spend until God calls me home. So y'all have a blessed day, and thank you all for being here for such a long night.
Thank you, guys. Let's give them a hand. Now, these guys are all going to be sticking around in the back. However, I have been told that there is a time limit as to which we're allowed to stay in this building. So if someone comes along and starts telling you, hey, let's move it on, pay attention to them. That's the deal we made with Calvary Temple.